Well, the other thing is that you've been a little bit busy dealing with you went on Turkish TV with Brandon Straka.
I was on with Brandon Straka.
We have this clip. Now we have the whole thing. It's long, but what's the best part? For me, the best part is where he's calling you. He's saying that you're calling him a murderer.
Absolutely, that is the best part. And I mean, on the show, I tried to be more diplomatic and said, I'm not calling you that, but I absolutely was calling him a murderer.
All right, well, can we play that clip? Can we?
We have that.
Can we go to the? Yeah, this is pretty funny. Now, let me just remind everybody who Brandon Straka is. He is the founding member of Walk Away, which has been a resounding unsuccess in terms of like getting Democrats to walk away from the Democratic Party and vote for Trump. I don't think that there has been certainly no more movement than typically. And he started this campaign, in 2016 or 2017. And by 2018, the Democrats had won the greatest electoral victory on an off-year election in the history of anybody alive now.
I think Brexit was more successful.
Yeah. The number of seats that they took was less because of gerrymandering, but the sheer disparity of Democratic votes, which is really all he's working on, right? Like he's not working in gerrymandering districts or anything like that. For him, it's just like, I'm trying to convince as many Democrats as possible to walk away from Democrats, and they've completely failed. And so now he's sort of like, is he changing his branding or what's he doing?
Well, his thing now is that he's traveling around the country to each of these end the lockdown protests, and he's trying to make his name off of that. I think he's still pushing Walk Away. I think that's still his thing. But right now, it's there's a grift in the pandemic, that's for sure. I mean, this is I cover grifters a lot, and this is prime grifting material. I mean, I don't think they've ever been so joyous over something like this before. This is beautiful for all people who find money to be made in the pandemic.
All right, let's play this clip of Straka, who is really upset because you've apparently called him a murderer.
Is it a fair point? I don't know. You tell me. I got on 6 airplanes, 3 going there and 3 going back. I stood in a crowd of 1,000 people in the pouring, freezing rain, which is a prime breeding ground for coronavirus. I'm healthy as a horse.
Pause it for 1 second. Pause it for 1 second. Now, so his argument is, I did not catch coronavirus, so maybe it's fake or something?
Right. I don't know if he thinks it's fake or if it's just not as dangerous. What seems to be the case is you have a rift even between these conservative grifters. You have the ones who believe this is an actual thing, but all the experts were wrong and it's not that serious. And, of course it's real. So some old people and the ill, survival of the fittest. Some people will just have to die. Oh, well. And then there's people who just don't believe it's even a thing. Like they were lied to by Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci and, of course not Donald Trump, the president of the United States, who has all the power in the world.
He's just got to go along with it. He's just got to go along with it.
Right. Well, how else he's going to get in there to take down that global pedophile ring if he's not going along with this, right, Sam?
Now, exactly. Now, is it the case that freezing rain and cold is actually a prime breeding ground for coronavirus? Is he just making that up?
I mean, I have no idea where that came from. I mean, the belief for a long time when this was first happening was, like other illnesses, less people get sick when the weather's warmer, when it's nicer out. I mean, this was happening in Australia during their summer. It's happening in South America during their summer. They're not in the clear. They're locked down in all over. I mean, I have family in Peru who have been locked down, and even more strict lockdowns there than they have here. And they don't even have a double-digit or even single-digit percentage of what we've got. So
that may not be a coincidence,
right?
And I think part of it is, it seems to me, from what I can tell regarding the weather, is that it may be the case that it is harder to contract outside because the air is not as thick with the coronavirus if you're outside. That's just, I mean, I've just read that. Obviously, folks, do not change your behavior in any way because I've said that, but that's just, we don't.
I think there's like a broader thing where like, yeah, less people do get sick in the summer when it's nicer out or whatever. And this probably follows along with that. But there's no truth to the belief that like this will just disappear in the summer months and there's nothing to worry about. Like people still do get sick in the summer,
right?
Even though it's less. It'll be the same like this. People will still get it. But that second wave probably will happen, after August.
The epidemiologists have told me that it happens 6 months after the first peak. The second peak happens 6 months after the first peak. But put all that aside because that's just science. Let's listen to the art of Brandon Straka.
There at that rally.
Matt, what's the problem?
Have you been tested? Have you been tested, Brandon?
I wouldn't be tested because I don't have any symptoms.
Right. You can be an asymptomatic carrier of this. You can be an asymptomatic carrier of this, killing people as you go to all these things, as you infect them with coronavirus. We don't know.
Now I'm responsible for murder because I went out and exercised my First Amendment right. I now have to feel guilty and responsible for murder because I am presenting a point of view that is contradictory to the authoritarian point of view that you have, that I must follow your orders, I must follow your guidelines, otherwise I'm a murderer. I want to be very clear.
You're saying that no one. I'm not saying.
And I'm not saying that in the strongest possible terms. You have absolutely no right to call me a murderer because I'm exercising my First Amendment rights and because I'm standing up for working people in the United States of America. How dare you? Do not say that to me.
My issue is you're using a very specific example. This is just information based on you, one individual, and you're trying to use that to tell people, hey, I'm not sick, so you can go out. Are you a person over the age of 65?
Where were you when tens of thousands of people are dying every year of the flu?
Hey, Brandon, I let you talk.
Hold on for 1 second. Yeah, Matt. Where were you when all these people were dying of the flu? How come you weren't why weren't you doing anything about that?
I don't know. It's my bad. I guess I'm responsible.
To be fair, I do think that you were copacetic with the flu vaccine that was going around, right?
Right. Well, to be fair, last time I was on the show, I did bring whatever illness I had into the office, if you remember.
I think you did. Yes. So Matt, you're a murderer. This guy's using the argument that I know a guy who smoked for many years and did not die of lung cancer. Therefore, smoking is healthy for you.
Right.
And then he takes the murderer thing. It's good to see Brandon do this. I guess I can appreciate the fact that at least he is putting and do we know, is he wearing masks at these things? I wonder if he wore a mask on the plane, because you don't have to on many of these planes. If he actually took 6 planes, my guess is he would have hit one flight where he wasn't forced to wear a mask. I bet you he did wear a mask.
I don't know. A lot of these, I'll be honest, a lot of these guys are really going out there and pushing with the idea that, wearing a mask is weak.
Emasculating?
It's emasculating. Yeah. Wearing the mask, doing all this stuff is weak. I mean, that one of the things at these protests is there are people who are proudly not wearing any masks and just saying it's ridiculous. It's bullshit. It's stunning. It seems like, even if you want to end the lockdown and you think this has all gone too far, you think the easiest thing in the world would just to be, look, I'm wearing a mask. I'm taking this precaution. Open up now. We could all do this. But I mean, they're just like shooting themselves in the foot by clearly showing that they're not ready to reopen up, by not being able to follow these very simple rules that will allow them to live their lives, as close to life before the pandemic as possible.
And to be clear, you don't wear a mask at one of these things. I mean, I suppose if you have one of the if you have a good woodworking mask, I think your mask could be effective in preventing you from getting it. Although there's a doctor from who's an NBC contributor who's in the hospital now, who's convinced that he got it on a plane through his eyes because it was so packed in that plane.
Right.
But the bottom line is you wear a mask because you're protecting other people. And that is That is just the worst thing you can do, folks, is having to protect other people. Then you're basically conceding to this entire communistic perspective on society.
Right. I mean, the mask is the one thing that helps solve what you can't do anything about. Like, you don't want to wear gloves. That's fine. You could be It's hard. I mean, people touch their face all the time and touch things, but you can theoretically go through, constantly using hand sanitizer, not touching things. You can't control the particles in the air. You will get someone sick, or you yourself will get sick without having to do anything, because you just walked into it and it got into your eye or your nose or your mouth. I mean, that's why the mask is the most important thing.
So what else have you been following? Other things? We should say that I think you may be unrivaled in terms of following the right-wing grifters over the years. Certainly, right. You introduced me to Mike Cernovich, and then Mike Cernovich introduced me to a world of renown and fame. And
right.
So I hope he's doing well during this. Is he still around? What's he doing now?
Honestly, he's completely fallen. A lot of the guys who helped get Trump where he is didn't quite get anything in return, really.